Hey, what's up, gang? It's Kelvin from the Real Mensters, and today I'm coming to you with our first deck profile of the 1.5 format, and it's also kind of a special deck because it is a green deck that is focused on pre-limited list green, so that means we're going to be able to see 4 Argomons and 4 hidden potential discovered in this deck. I think it's very important to keep that in mind just because this deck, I think, really is going to struggle without those cards, which is why I wanted to put it out first in the format. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into Izzy Izumi's Digi-Destiny. Okay, so as always when we do these, we're going to start with the Tamers because they are the stars of the show. And so first we're going to have 2 copies of Ken Ichi Joji. I realize this isn't Izzy, and we will be seeing Izzy, but the thing about Ken is he's a memory tamer, which we really need to make sure that we can evolve into Hercules Kabuterimon and keep our turn. Plus his effect to gain memory when destroying a Digimon really helps us because Hercules Kabuterimon eats up a lot of memory with his own effect. So in addition to Ken, we do have 2 copies, of course, of Izzy Izumi. So his effect is just for consistency, really helps make sure that we're drawing into the cards that we need to see so that we can stay in the game. Then we're going to have 4 copies of Hidden Potential Discovered. This is a huge facilitator in this deck because this helps us out when we don't see our Kens. And so it's just another way to go into Hercules Kabuterimon without losing our turn. I think that 4 copies is a little bit high. I would probably, in the future, only run 3 copies. That being said, of course, this card is going to be limited soon. So when that happens, you'd only be able to run 1 copy anyway. But I just do want to point out that 4 is probably a bit too many. You see it a lot, and you don't really need to see it that much. So moving on to our eggs, we have 4 copies of Minomon. Now, the reason for this is because Hercules Kabuterimon does have piercing, so we want to make sure we're attacking our opponent's Digimon so we can get that plus 1000 DP. Also, Hercules Kabuterimon can attack multiple times, so each time he attacks a Digimon, he will get that plus 1000 DP. So he can actually get the effect multiple times for the turn. And then we're also looking at 1 copy of Tentomon. And the reason we're going with Tentomon is again because we want that DP gain. Hercules Kabuterimon is not the strongest Digimon, so we need to have a way to make sure that he is running over other Digimon and piercing them and surviving the security check from piercing. And so that's why we've got Tentomon instead of like Argomon. And then we are going to look at our rookies. And first off, we've got 7 of the vanilla 2-0 rookies. We've got 4 Goblimon and 3 Argomon. The reason for the split in favor of Goblimon is just to respect Omnimon, because if the opponent has Omnimon, we already have other Argomons in the deck, and it increases the chance we get hit by that Omnimon and lose a lot more than we really want to lose. So, the other reason that we're running so many 2 costs is just as a cheap target for Hidden Potential Discovered, so that basically If we were using that, it's as though we were paying 2 to evolve instead of 3 with Hercules, Kabuterimon, or one of our other megas. And so, yeah, that's what we got these guys. Next, we have 4 copies of Agumon. You know, pretty much the best rookie in green. Every deck runs him at 4, I think. And he's just like so amazing. You get that plus 1000 DP again. That generic plus 1000 really helping to deal with anything that Hercules Kabuterimon wants to run over. And finally, we're looking at 2 copies of Tentomon, which is Izzy's partner. And he gets to suspend some of the opponent's Digimon, which can help us proc Mega Kabuterimon's effect. And if we have enough memory, it can allow us to have another target to attack with Tentomon. So it is pretty nice to have at 2. We don't really need more because of the fact that he's not hitting as much stuff now that there's 4 and 5K rookies running around more often, but he's still good to have around. So next up, we are looking at our level 4s, and as usual, we've got 4 copies of Woodmon because we want to have our blocker just to help sort of keep us in the game, and in particular with this deck, since Hercules Kabuterimon is so weak on the opponent's turn, we want a way to help us defend him so that the opponent doesn't just run him over and we end up losing him. So, in addition, we are running 4 copies of Stingmon, and the reason that we're running Stingmon at 4 copies is because, again, when we're swinging with that Hercules Kabuterimon, it's really nice to be able to gain some extra memory. It increases the chances that we're going to be able to activate his effect, which is really going to help us get as much value out of him as possible. Plus, of course, the 1 cost to evolve is really nice. We want those efficient evolutions whenever we possibly can take them. And last, for our level 4s, we have 4 copies of Kabuterimon, Izzy's partner, and it is very, very nice for this deck because it gives us DP gain. We'll usually be getting at least 1,000. Sometimes we can get 2,000 or 3,000 with it, and it just really helps to ensure that Hercules Kabuterimon doesn't die, like I just keep saying. So next up, we have level 5s. First is going to be, no surprises to anyone, 4 copies of Agumon, the boy who's getting limited because he's just so good. 0 to evolve into a level 5 is absolutely insane, and it really makes it so it's so much easier for us to quickly get into our Hercules Kabuterimon, which we want to get into quickly. That way we can try to threaten our opponent with it as much as possible. In addition, just to have a couple more Digisorption Digimon, we also run 2 copies of Blossomon because Digisorption really helps this deck, especially because of our higher end, which we'll talk more about later. But yeah, so we just do want more ways to Digivolve for no cost. Then we are also going to be running 2 copies of Rapidmon, because as with Kabuterimon, we just really want that DP gain wherever we can get it. So having another 2 copies of that effect just to help with that is it's really nice. And finally, we have Izzy's partner, Mega Kabuterimon, at 2 copies. If I'm being 100% honest, he's probably the least useful one from the line. because he's sort of like a weaker version of Akuamon, but his effect can still go off. And he is Izzy's partner, which these are the parameters of the challenge. We're gonna go ahead and run him, and he's not awful. At least he only costs 2 to evolve into, so it doesn't feel as bad as if he was like a 3 cost to evolve, which he would be in pretty much any other color. So next we are going to finish off with our level 6 Digimon, and we're going to start off with 3 copies of Ceresmon. As I alluded to earlier, you know, we want those Digisorption Digimon so we can activate her effect, which is really nice for setting up our Hercules Kabuterimon to have things to attack into. And it's a big Digimon for cheap, basically. You know, with Digisorption, she's as cheap to run as a Titamon, so that's pretty nice. And last but certainly not least, the big dog himself, or big bug, I suppose, Hercules Kabuterimon. So he costs 3 to Digivolve, which honestly not great for 10,000 DP, but he does have an effect to try to make up for that. 1, he has Piercing, and 2, he has End of Attack twice per turn. You can unsuspend this Digimon by decreasing your memory by 3. It's a lot of memory, I'm not going to lie to you. But with that being said, when I was playing with him, I did find it wasn't actually that hard to get the effect off both times. Usually you'd only get, you would attack, pay the 3 to unsuspend, get a second attack, and then you would pay the 3 to unsuspend so that on your opponent's turn, they're not able to hit you back and take him out. He is not the greatest Digimon. Let's be 100% real. He's not. But I did some pretty crazy stuff with him while I was testing the deck, and I will say that I do think that he is worth, you know, experimenting with if you're doing something a little bit more casual. He's fun. It's actually really fun to use him and get those multiple attacks off and get that piercing off. It's really fun. It's not super duper competitive, but it is very fun. And also, just in case I didn't mention it, in case it wasn't obvious, this is Izzy's partner's final form. So we do have a full line here, and if you play your cards right with this deck, you can get off several attacks per turn for piercing with really big numbers, and there's not a lot the opponent can do to stop you on your turn. The next turn, on their turn, they can try to hit you back, but that's why we're mitigating it by unsuspending him and using blockers in order to protect him and having memory gain effects so that he can just keep using his effect. So, with that all being said, this has been Izzy Izumi's DigiDestiny fulfilled. I'll see you next time.